Earlier, I've been thinking about it ever since you said it. You talked about knowing the homeless dude who talks to themselves and knowing the CEOs who have more money to do whatever than they could ever use, right?
Yeah.
And I would keep finding myself asking, what is it that helps you get or disabandon or ignore the intimidation that comes with interacting with all of those kind of parties, right? Like being brought up, you theoretically know most of the time a homeless person is safe and just having a hard time just like any other human, right? And you can tell yourself that, but then society and upbringing where I came from is like actually danger. And then on the flip side, coming from what I would say for me being pretty intimidated, i.e. ADHD, that narrative of, not the smartest, whatever, but then going to talk to theoretically, again, the buttoned up socioeconomically perfect CEO, and walking like what's getting you there, and I know some of this, at least for me, I do have an ability to kind of just say, for lack of a better term, I'm just gonna do it.
Yep.
And I don't want to plant that as like the reason, but there's multiple layers to approaching those sides. And for me, what would be like that internal voice being some form of fear, some sort of something holding you back from doing something that you're like, I think I should do that. Like you're getting a little like nudge. And you're like, ooh, I don't know. Like it could be dangerous. Like what's your self-assessment of how you've navigated that, right? Because I mean, that's kind of what you're talking about is golden boy, and from an outside perspective looking in, there's an ability to connect because of your ability to be an anomaly, right? Like a tattooed, well-spoken, church-going, like you do find a way you've been placed in a way where you can get there.
Yep.
But there's still, you have to then walk. You know what I'm saying? Like you can touch, but you then have to walk and speak and do. And I think that you do that. I believe that you do that and feel that you do that, but I don't think a lot of people do. What up?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, you
transcribe all that.
You were talking about like the ADHD thing, and then your whole bit on the not bit because it's real.
Well, yeah,
like
it's verbal processing.
I'm just gonna go for it kind of thing.
Sometimes, yeah.
That's part of the gift, man.
Right.
Is that unfiltered process, that just straightforward.
Right.
It's one of the things that I deeply resonated about with hardcore. As a 15-year-old, and I'm hearing hardcore music for the first time. I'm not able to eloquently put into words that this music was made for me. Everything that's being said, not only does it sound cool, but it's done in a way that it's just like, like it just gets me. I can't explain that. Even to this day, I can't explain that. It's like, explaining why lowriders are cool. I don't know. You just either you're into them or you're not. And it's
kind of real.
It is, it's like, so what is my process in entering into conversations with people is that I don't elevate people's persona, vibe, context in any way. Like if we're having this conversation right here, I'd be more than happy and more than willing to have a similar conversation. It might look different contextually, but similar conversation with a homeless person.
Right.
It almost sounds, then you can forgive me if I'm getting this totally wrong, like you're having a conversation with a human and not a label. So it's like, I'm not having a conversation with a CEO or a conversation with a philanthropist or someone who happens to be homeless or someone who's this, that, or the other. But like whoever's in front of me, like you're a person.
Right.
We're connecting.
You're a person. Yeah, you're a person. And honestly, you're a one-off.
Right.
I'm the only other person having this conversation with this person on the planet right now, and that's pretty special.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I like
special.
that.
Now, when you can bring that actual, mindset into a conversation, that's transformative. I don't enter into conversations with people of like, this is going to be a transformative conversation. I have had conversations with neighbors on my street that I've wanted to kind of like push the envelope of, hey, can we get past the surface stuff? Because I see something in you and I want to be able to like speak to it. And sometimes I'll just be like, screw it. I'm just going to like speak to it, and it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
So sometimes people are a customer and they're not, you know? So, but you treat people the same.
Yeah.
You treat people, honestly, how do you want to be treated? I'm not going to lie. I love being very, very confusing to people.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I think that is cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And not cool in the sense of like a style thing, although cool can mean that too, but cool is being comfortable in your own skin. And so, it's funny that you said that like the golden boy thing. It's hilarious to me because I might apologize more than anyone else that I know. And that comes, it's one of those things. I wholeheartedly believe that God wastes nothing, including our stinking thinking, our ugly narratives. So when you grow up with an ugly narrative that I'm less than, I'm stupid, there's other people that are smarter than me. I had this really ugly narrative up into high school that I was like, I'm a stupid person. I need to find a trade I can learn in about 10 minutes and do that for the rest of my life and just get out of the way of all the other people who are going to do life way better than me. When you have that narrative, you automatically know that you're not bringing something to the table, right? So apologizing for coming up short wasn't really that big of a deal to me because it was like, oh yeah, I mean, I messed up. See, my old narrative was I messed up because I'm a mess up.
Right.
But that's not true. Like, I see Brene Brown over there.
Yeah.
The shame is you are the thing that you've done. Guilt is a truth sayer, right? It's like, well, yeah, you did that thing. When I talk with kids inside juvie all the time, we talk about the difference between like a shame narrative and a truth saying narrative of like, yeah, man, you did the crime, but you are not that crime.
Right.
You did that thing, but you are not that thing. You effed up, but you are not an F up. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference. Because someone valuable, and nobody's perfect, we're going to F up all the time. We're going to mess up.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't have a straightforward answer for you other than it's a very unfiltered process. And the process is quite simple for me. These are human beings who, and every single one of us has a unique story, and I have no idea where this person is at, but perhaps I might be a person, or you might be a person who takes enough time just to have a simple interaction. We've got a lot of houseless individuals in Santa Cruz, and from a very early age have taught our kids, like, you don't have to have anything physical to give to any of these homeless people, houseless people on the streets, other than you recognize them, you recognize their humanity, you see them, acknowledge them. Because in that, you're giving dignity. I see you, man. I'm not going to intentionally just stay on my phone and like shoulders are already up. You already know that you're feeling awkward about the situation. Your body language is saying everything. And then when you get past, you relax. Like, just recognize the individual, the elderly man on the street. Good afternoon, sir. How are you today? Just recognizing that little bit, it goes forever.
It does.
Going back to even like the beginning of the conversation, wanting to like leave people better off than they were, whether, for me early on in our relationship, it was a coffee shop. It was like, you just feel better coming here, man. Not only because I got a little great cup of coffee, but like, I can't explain, but this place helped me feel like better. Like, I'm stoked to go, whether that was because they recognized me or what, but And you leave people better than you found them.
Yeah. And that can totally be different every day.
Totally.
And that's, I think, the beauty of it.
Totally.
No, I think that's a great answer. It is also, it does signify something that's banked into you that is really cool, that everybody, I think, can learn. But you do have a knack for being able to have that mindset. And you've picked it up somewhere, somebody taught it to you, or you just are innately that, all of which are rad. But there's an ability for you to do that, it seems, in a way that is really clear and just like unified with your soul in an awesome, awesome way that I think is really, really valuable. So I just appreciate you sharing. It's just something that, I think a lot of people are intimidated by in their own right. And the way you explain it is a great way, I think, for people to begin dismantling that and recognizing, this is just a human being in a moment. And somehow, for me, I find that easier with people that are above my status than below it, in the context of like houseless versus houseless. Somehow has been banked into me is danger.
Totally.
It's drugs, it's danger, it's
totally
violence, it's whatever.
Yeah.
And in this town, you only hear the worst, so that doesn't help also. But I totally understand if you can start reworking that. And I very much agree and align with, how can you just make that eye contact and recognize that you see a person? Because I've been in that place where I feel like I don't need anything specifically. I just need to not feel ignored. Yeah. I need to not feel like people are avoiding me.
Right.
And sometimes it is as simple as just like an acknowledgement. It makes you feel like, okay, cool, I'm not crazy. Right. And so that, I think, is so awesome, for lack of a better term, and so good and key to life in the world. So I just appreciate that share.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. That's awesome. Wait, in regards to like, so talking to the homeless person, right?
Sure.
Now talking to like the CEO type.
Yeah.
Honestly, the unfiltered process there too is they're human, just like me.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they're just as insecure as anybody else.
Absolutely.
And, in a lot of ways, at least the story that I tell myself when I'm having a conversation with, let's say like a particularly, what can feel like a soulless individual.
Absolutely. Yeah.
At times.
I'm here for the numbers and the money.
Yes. Yeah. Totally. Being able to challenge that with like, so what do you care about?
Right.
Like what do you actually care about? And
let them off the hook a little bit.
Totally, not let them off the hook. Poke at it. I love poking at stuff.
Yeah. You're good at that.
What's that?
But like in a disarming way, you're really good at that. It's like direct enough, but it also safe enough. And that's kind of why I said anomaly earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy that about you. It's
You're
fun.
good at that too.
I think I am. Yeah. I noticed that. Anyway, thanks.
You like make fun of people. You could, and I've seen you do it because I know when you're doing it, but like you could make fun of people and still make them smile, and it's fucking hilarious. It's like the most ridiculous thing ever. Like,
it's a gift, man.
I really like Jared. I'm like, that dude just roasted you. You have no idea.
Can I tell you like awesome. A non-roast that I did yesterday at the gym?
Yeah.
We were doing our exercise. I do the CrossFit thing at CrossFit up and in whatever. We're there. There's two people working out that are there that are getting ready to leave. And it's a man and a woman. They're together. And the dude is going in and Ryan DeWitt, who runs the class, he's all, hey, everybody, this is Christoph. And he's all, hey, guys. And I'm always like, love you and Frozen, like as he's walking away. And everybody, kind of only some people heard it and laughed. And then on the way out, his wife's name's Anna, dude.
No way.
Yeah. I was like, my Frozen joke is so next level and meta, I didn't even know. And it literally took the whole class like 30, 40 seconds. And they're like, wait, her name was actually Anna? I'm like, yeah, dude. That's like, anyway.
That's awesome.
Then he heard me, and like laughed too. But it was kind of to your point. And that wasn't a roast. That was just us. I mean, it could have been a roast if he hates Disney or whatever.
It's a good quip.
But it's a little quip, right? But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, you're very fast with it.
I think that's the ADD brain. You kind of, I had to learn that. It's like the fun defense offense gift too. Yeah. In the long haul offense, as a kid, it's like the defense. Like be funny, be entertaining, be clowny, because that's how you're going to be accepted aside from sports, which was the other thing I did.
Wow.
In choir.
Inquire.
Which I don't know if that really got accepted or not, but I was in, dude.
Yeah, you were in.
I was in something.
You had range, dude. You had sports and choir.
Dude.
Oh, yeah.
Actor/model, and not the other way around.
Where, with the kids and flow, like, what kind of promise are you making, and then where do you feel like your responsibility ends? And this is something that I think about a lot in the context of specifically business and what we're trying to do, but also just like the greater cultural context, where it's like, I have this feeling, this belief that like each of us has some sort of gift, you know, a sweet spot that they can operate in. And if we can get in that zone, we can do things that fill us up, but also make the people around us better. That whole sharing your gifts idea is something I really believe in. And then I believe as business owners, a huge part of creating the culture that we're trying to build, like our job is, you know, we set the environment that other people will exist in. You know, Jared and I, it's our job to create this environment in Cat and Cloud that allows people to bring these things to the table. That's one side of it, and in some ways it can sound like pretty fluffy. And one of the things I struggle with is where, you know, our promise ends and the responsibility of the other party kicks in, where it's like we can help set the stage, but you on the other side of the table have to do a certain amount of work to realize that and to capitalize on what's going on. And how does that work for you? Are you there to just as a place, you know, a safe space, or is there a bigger agreement? You know, obviously you're not employing the people that are coming to you, so we might have a bit more of a structured agreement.
Yeah. So if you could help me, if you could just give some context to what your agreement is.
I could probably ask a better question, and I don't have that question yet. One of the things that I struggle with, and this is probably more applies to an organization like ours than maybe something like what you do necessarily, if I'm hearing it right, but it's I want people to be able to show up how they are and realize that they are special, but also there's the personal responsibility side, which is you got to fucking do the work.
Totally. And are you talking about your staff, or are you talking about your customers?
I'm talking about our staff.
Okay. So to speak to that,
yeah,
absolutely, 100%. You cannot. None of our staff can show up casually and not be on point in those times. Like they have to, and which means choosing staff wisely is key.
Right, because the kids are your guests.
Right.
Yeah.
The kids are your customers.
It's key. You can't. I would never have a problem with staff if I was just down to hire anyone.
Sure.
One of the reasons why I have such a hard time hiring the right people is because it's a challenge to find people who are as passionate about this as you are, you know, and to fully grasp, this has to be firing on all cylinders, if you will. And I don't mean that from like a performance standpoint, because it's not about performing. I'm not saying, okay, you're on at this time. I'm inviting you to be fully you on this staff, and what you do, who you are, is already embodied in this. So really, you showing up for your program is an opportunity to showcase who you are, what you're about, and it's magnified through this venue, this medium. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That to me relates very directly to how we would like to run our business as well, right? The people who become leaders in this place, we'd like them to show up as themselves, and we are agreeing upon ideals that we're pursuing, in the context of us, it's a mission, vision, values, right?
Yep.
Those are the language we use. But the agreement is that that's our direction.
Yep.
And then you're right. Like, performance is part of it, but it's not the ultimate in the context of you can come and make mistakes. You can come and try new things from your perspective, and whether they work or don't. But like, there's autonomy and ownership given to those who are willing to, exactly, like, it's hard to find the great leaders because they have to be willing to walk the path with you. And it's harder sometimes to find out the deeper motivation that is the values alignment versus the performance side. And sometimes that takes time and sometimes it doesn't. We have an amazing staff. We've consistently had amazing team members step up. But I would say that was really relatable in the way you described that for me, in the way that I view our team, which is they're coming in, and even us, we're learning every day.
Totally.
Right? I mean, from the beginning of starting this place to however long, we're going to consistently have to mess up to do better.
Right.
So we expect nothing less from anybody else who's going to come on as well. Like, we're not bringing somebody on who's already perfectly professional.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yep.
So I appreciate the way you share that, and I think it very much aligns with what we're attempting to do here.
Yeah.
There needs to be a level of realness in order to be on Flow staff.
Absolutely.
Like, that's kind of just number one. That's baseline. Like, if there's not a level of realness, and even like and a realness even in your craft, like, for example, like, we have action sports programs. It would not make a lot of sense to have the director of that action sports program not be legit at whatever their craft is going to be, whether that's, that's
absolutely
dirt jumping or surfing or skateboarding, like so, which almost makes it even more challenging than to find somebody whose like skill set is on point, but then also their heart.
Right. Yeah, big time.
And now, what I'm discovering is that, like, you can coach a skill set, but the heart is a much deeper and longer work and a deeper work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
that is enlightened.
And that's key. That's baseline. So that's where we even start. So there are literally hundreds who have never passed the sniff test, because it's like, dude, sorry, your like lifestyle and the choices that you make outside of your craft, they do not line up with what we're about, and that's hardcore.
Yeah,
like that's literally
full circle.
Like, that's
where that
hardcore.
culture, that like heavy culture comes in, and that's
it.
where I'm like, I always have like a hard time trying to even articulate it to where it's like, hey, we accept you, you can be you, but there's fucking rules.
Yeah.
Like, there is a structure here, and like, you're welcome to be here, but this, that, and the other. And it was like that for me with skating. It was just like certain things where like, yeah, we don't do that. That's not a part of this.
Right.
Like, you're cool, but like, there's a limit.
Yeah.
There's a limit to how far you can push.
No doubt.
And until you're just not a part of that particular culture, to where it's like, yeah, people like us don't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And learn to not push Mongo.
As leaders, it's our job to communicate that in a way that's like, it's very clear. Like, hey, this is what we're about. This is what we're about. And it's okay that you're not. It just means that you're not necessarily going to have a spot on this team, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's
no hard
fine.
feelings.
No
there.
hard feelings.
You
all
can
love.
still be. You can still be a person that I want to spend time with. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can be part of this team.
Yeah, True North is still that way for us.
Yep.
What do you hope to do with Flow in the future? Like, you've been doing it for a while. What are some of the bigger dreams you have?
Yeah.
Or not even bigger is probably the wrong word. Different.
Yeah. I've heard from the East Coast to the West Coast, people who have visited our site, visited our space, who have toured around, reflect back what's resonated deeply in me from the very beginning. And that's, you know, and their words were, I feel like every place needs this. Mm-hmm. And what they're describing is like, yeah, every place needs what they're describing is like, man, young people, middle schoolers, high schoolers, teenagers, they need more trustworthy adults in their lives who are going to give a shit about them and be okay with who they are, you know, and stand beside them when life is hard. And that's one thing to want that. It's another to position yourself in a way where you're actually in close enough proximity to be there when stuff gets hard.
Yeah.
So proximity is key. So we want to be within proximity of future generations, you know, and that looks like, you know, physical spaces, satellites. I was up in Portland earlier in August, checking it out. But here at the home front, I want to create an adaptive skate park for people with special needs, in wheelchairs, walkers, but and provide this space where they can skate, they can ride. At the same time, make it sick enough that the local shredder is going to want to be there too. And you know, and session the spot. But who I want to staff that with are kids that, and maybe this is very like idealistic, but we want this relational gap to be bridged between the kids on the inside, that the kids that we're working with inside juvenile hall, who when they get out are going back to the same old, because there they have purpose, there they have meaning, there they have, you know, this cause, right, to be a part of, and want to create more of an opportunity to, you know, spend time with some of the greatest humans that you'll ever encounter in your entire life, and share life in a way that's fun and interactive, and that without realizing it, you're giving yourself away. But at the same time, it's this bizarre transaction. What you're getting in return is like so much more than you're even giving away.
Right.
So that's one of the kind of the wild and crazy dreams that we got kind of brewing right now, is in more of an adaptive skate park.
What makes it wild and crazy? Like, what are the hurdles to come over? Is it monetary or?
For sure, monetary. Monetary is definitely one of those things, but people power, you know, people power, you know, finding the right people who are as equally as passionate about that, even for a sustainable season, to the point where you could build up a team to then hand over. You know, I always talk to my leaders about, like, let's work ourselves out of a job.
Right.
You know, always looking to the next season of, like, who are you investing in now to be able to hand this off to later? Because you and I both know this is not till death do us part. So
how many full-time, this is more business curiosities, like how many full-time staff do you have?
One. That is me.
That is you.
Full-time. But then we have a part-time staff of about 5 or 6. And then a volunteer staff of about 25 or 30.
And then that's a lot. How do you make money? How does that work?
Yeah. So we are completely crowdfunded.
Okay.
So Flow is a 501c nonprofit.
Okay.
And we are one of those kind of weird organizations, man, that has not had to do a lot of fundraiser per se, like, hey, we're going to do this, you know, pasta feed and all the proceeds are going to this. Like, we haven't had to do a lot of that. Again, going back to the whole, like, network of people, of knowing the homeless dude, who I've had homeless people find out what we do with Flow and literally give us $1 or $2.
No shit.
I want this to go help kids. Before the pandemic, unbeknownst to us, until everything got shut down, we were operating at a very unsustainable pace.
Yes.
And For us, I was definitely getting crispy. I was not burning out like I'm done, but I was in deep need of a break, and so were my staff.
Mm-hmm.
And what the pandemic forced was us to get creative and pivot, and got to a point where we weren't going to try and hit the moving target. We were just going to redefine the target and hit it really well. So that's what we've done. And that's why we've changed so much over the past couple of years, from after school program to now we have after school action sports pods, with our skating and with our surfing and with sailing and with, all age venue shows, once a month, and all these different avenues, these different venues. And all of a sudden it's crazy because it's more financially sustainable too. Because we're not putting on this like gigantic, I hate to say production, but production for lack of a better word, every week, where hundreds and hundreds of consumers are coming through and values being added to their life.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was at such a large scale that the value that we were able to add, wasn't at the amount that we were longing to,
right?
Because it was so big. So we were kind of steep, keeping the fire going, but it wasn't burning nearly as hot as it could. And now it's like raging, and it's so much more sustainable.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've had the exact same experience, different particulars, but the same experience. We really had to hone in on our relationship as a ownership team and figure out how we wanted our relationship with our employees to be, and feel very comfortable with cutting things that just weren't working, and listening to that little voice inside us that says, hey, this isn't right. This is not how it's supposed to be. This is not how it's supposed to feel.
Right.
And to be able to shed that weight and feel that lightness. I don't know. It's been huge. A lot of people are feeling it, and it's cool to talk to people who have been able to find some sort of joy and rebirth in a time that's been just really hard for a lot of people.
Totally.
And I get that we're the fortunate ones to where it's like, hey, I personally haven't been hit as hard as a lot of people have been hit with that. Likewise. I see it as an opportunity we've had this opportunity to level up, and that's great.
Likewise.
Yeah, not everybody is feeling that, and so I'm aware of that, but I don't know, it's exciting to hear people shake it up and kind of get closer to what they maybe should have been doing in the first place, or
totally
follow their heart a little bit more, because the world's like almost self-correcting for you.
Yeah, for us it was becoming victims of our own success. It was
Same, yeah.
It was like, wow, this is really caught on. This is making an impact. This is making a very marketable impact. I'll be completely honest. Like, you pack a place with a whole bunch of kids, makes it for a great photo.
Sure.
There's a lot of energy there. You see it behind the scenes, and I'm not discounting any of the work that was done there, but behind the scenes, dude, it was stressful.
Yeah.
It was super, super stressful. And now you're not seeing as many students in the photos, but the impact is much deeper.
I know. I love that. That's like a good place to end, because something that is a good takeaway is I don't know if everybody, but I know everything is set up in such a way to where there's power in numbers, and numbers can give us this value, right? If I don't know you, but okay, I heard of Nick, so I can open up Instagram, or I can open up TikTok, or I can open up Twitter, and I can see by how many people follow him, how many people he's connected to. Is he following the right people? Are the right people following him? It's like, oh, he's got 700 followers? Well, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't really care about being his friend, but if he's got hundreds of thousands or maybe a couple million, I can see that he's doing all the right things. And that's just not how impact works.
Right.
Like, sure, there is power in numbers like that, but there's also power in so many of the things that we do every day, the people that we touch every day, the stories and ways that we can connect with other people that nobody else will know about. There's so much work. Like, there's a certain amount of people who know what happens on Tuesday at the skate park, but so many of the what that means to a lot of people's lives is largely going to go undocumented.
Totally.
And that doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. And that doesn't mean that we can't show up even if nobody sees it.
Yep.
Because, man, if we can only show up when it's highly visible and we feel like there's going to be some sort of cool return for it, we're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities.
Totally.
And other people's lives.
That's not real, you know? Yes.
It's not. It's not. It puts the cart before the horse, and like that system is the system that reinforces people being who they think they should be, which we've been talking about this whole time. You know, it's all connected. So it's like, I don't know, man. Whatever you're doing out there matters, and like, even if you're not getting a ton of great feedback now, someone cares for sure. You know, so. Thanks for coming, man.
Dude, thank you.
For
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, hell yeah,
This was rad.
Thanks for listening, y'all. This podcast is an extension of our mission to inspire connection by creating memorable experiences. If you want to get more acquainted with what we do, you can go on over to catandcloud.com. There you'll find a little bit of everything. If you want coffee, we got coffee there. If you want to be directed to some other magic media, basically it's your hub for all things Cat and Cloud. If you want to dive in on a deeper level, we do have a Patreon. It's $5 a month, about the price of a latte each month. You get a peek behind the scenes of what we do here, unpacking some of the ideas that we talk about during this podcast, rants and raves, Q&As, Jared and I just talking shit together. Biased opinion, yes, but I think it's a lot of fun. So thanks for listening. Go out and inspire someone to do something amazing. Bye.